Okay, sorry about that. I wanted to start off fresh before we got started doing another guide. Sorry about the abrupt start of the Cody guide. I did say the last time I was doing one that I would do it on Sunday, but since I'm not doing anything on today, I figure I'd get started on that right now, and that would make it a lot more easy because that way all we have to do is do guide, and then we'll do guides for each of the rounds, aka stages for Final Fight. So anyway, I'm RotorStorm331. I'm here to do another guide, Final Fight, to set up some speedrun guides. I already got the Hagar guide already up on YouTube as well as speedruns.com, so be sure to check those out. And we're going to get started today with Cody, who is who's basically the well-balanced fighter of the trio. So let me go ahead and save this real quick before we get started. Anyway, these guides are meant to help newcomers, whether it be speedrunners or even those that want to play the game casually, get into playing Final Fight. This is, after all, made from 1989. It's a very old game, but still very, very huge fan favorite among beat 'em up enthusiasts like myself. So anyway, today we're going to be covering Cody, and we're going to be covering everything you need to know from the basics of using him as a character, and among miscellaneous other things. So Cody is the well-balanced fighter of the group. And of course, when you do have, when you're mashing punches very fast, you can literally get infinites and do a lot of damage. Of course, Cody is not just your well-balanced fighter. He can also be one of your more deadly weapon users in regards to the knives. Unfortunately, I wound up getting knocked down here, but let's get over to the next area so we can talk about it. But in this game, we do have encounter enemies that will use knives, and basically with the knives in play, he will basically become a powerful character to use, and with knives in hand, in addition to infinites, he can easily decimate enemies pretty quickly. In truth. In my opinion, Cody is probably it's probably the best character in Final Fight to use for speedruns, and probably in the entire game as well, because this game gives you a ton of knives to use from, thanks to the Hollywoods and Elgatos. So if you give Cody a knife and you keep it on him for most of your playthrough throughout the rounds and whatnot, he can literally decimate foes pretty quickly. And of course, even without the knife, Cody could be just as deadly, especially with his infinites. And he's, thanks to his combination of well-balanced speed and strength, he can easily get through this game pretty quickly in the right hands, for the most part. But for the most part, Cody is very good in general in this game, so it's always important to make full use of him. He has pretty decent range on most of its hits. Probably has the shortest reach of the bunch, but his punches can still hit quite a bit of long distance. And for the most part, he does pretty darn well in just about everything you want him used for. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and cover his move list and some other tidbits. So once we get through here, we're going to go over his chain attack. Cody does a 4-hit chain attack when he'll do 2 punches to the face, followed up with a body blow and an uppercut. The uppercut has a very long wind up, as well as it'll be staying on there for quite a while before it comes down. So that's good to know, because if any enemies come right at you after you beat up the next enemy, you can basically just like use that and get more damage out of that. So overall, the chain attack does pretty decent amount of damage. Of course, it's not as much as the damage you would normally do with Hagar's chain attacks, but still, it's pretty decent overall. Next up, we're going to cover his jump attacks, and Cody has 3 different jump attacks. His stationary is just a simple regular jump kick. You can use that to counter any enemy attacks, like the Hollywood and Elgato's acrobatic knife dive, or any enemies that will try to get too close to you. Come on. So it doesn't do the highest amount of damage, but it could still it's still pretty good if you can't get a forward jump and you do need to dodge knives or whatever and retaliate against anyone trying to come near to you. So moving forward to his regular jump kick, which is his forward jump. It does pretty much almost the exact same damage. And this gives Cody a massive amount of reach, by the way. So basically when you're attacking enemies that are further away from Cody, you should always use the forward jump kick, and that allows you to basically allow you to attack enemies further ahead. So the last jump attack we're going to cover for Cody is basically his knee drops. So basically when you do the knee drop, you basically stun your enemies, and you can set them up for a chain attack and whatnot. And if you're quick enough, well, I didn't do it right here. This can also be done during a reverse jump as well. So if you got enemies approaching from you, you can do the knee drop and basically hit them from behind and stun them a bit. So unlike Hagar's body drop, you do need this does stun the enemy, so that can help you set up your attacks real quick as well. And that can be chained right after into any of your jump attacks, like the stationary jump kick or even the forward jump kick as well. It's also a pretty good fake out tool too. So basically you can go for a knee drops, go right into the your jump attack right then and there. So basically now that we've gotten the jump attacks out of the way, let's go over his grab throws. So we'll cover his knee strikes first. So the knee strikes are his grapple strike, and they deal very high amount of damage. You definitely want to use that whenever possible, because that gets you your highest amount of damage aside from your chain attack and your infinites, of course. Next up, we're going to be performing the over shoulder throw. So basically when Cody does the over shoulder throw, he'll throw the enemies to the far side of the screen. And that could also be used as part of his chain throw as well, as long as you're holding the opposite direction. Very good to use if you got enemies approaching from you from behind you. You're too busy dealing with the opponent. So basically, that's the simple shoulder throw. So basically, that covers Cody's throws. He's pretty easy to pick up in general, for the most part, and you can basically get very high damage with the infinites. So Cody is more famously known for his infinites. His infinites are pretty easy to do after you can turn around on the second punch. So basically, when you do infinites with Cody, you want to do it right after the second punch. And you gotta mash pretty fast. So if you're doing a turbo fire, of course, you can basically get a whole lot of damage with Cody pretty well. And this is basically his high damage move overall. In fact, one of Cody's supers in Street Fighter Alpha 3 is actually a homage to the Infinite, where he does like multiple punches, turn around, does multiple punches, and keeps doing it until he goes through the criminal uppercut. In fact, the criminal uppercut that he uses in Alpha 3 is actually a homage to his finisher, which is right here, for his chain attack. So believe it or not, you can actually do meaty combos, or well, not it. This actually goes way before fighting games, of course. So basically, what you do is do a knee drop, then do a 3-hit chain, grab the opponent, do 2 knee strikes, and then an over shoulder throw for your high amount of damage with Cody. Hagar could do this, but he would have to do it with 2 hits with his punches as opposed to doing it with the body splash, since he can't stun enemies with that move. But overall, when you ever use Cody, you want to take full advantage of performing the infinite. And of course, it does take a bit of practice. And you also have to pay close attention, because you don't want to be letting your enemies out of the infinite. Of course, unfortunately, even it is somewhat easy to do it with the auto fire, but you gotta be pretty fast on the uptake. Not to mention, you gotta mash pretty fast with Cody. So overall, when you're using Cody, you definitely want to make full use of the infinite, and take full advantage of it. Also, make full use of the chain throws, and grab whatever knives you can grab, and use that to your advantage. That's basically how you utilize Cody for the most part. Technically, once you master Cody, he'll be a breeze to fight this game pretty quickly. And take full advantage of the Elgatos and in the Hollywoods, especially if they drop knives. Now, one thing to keep in mind about the knives that you use with Cody, knives are basically his specialty. So when you see it's red, that means you can stab the enemy without throwing it. So Cody can definitely keep the knife in hand without losing it, so long as you're in striking range. Otherwise, he'll just chuck it away. But overall, Cody can make full use of the knives pretty dang good, and get very high damage out of that too. But yeah, luckily you get some more time with your hits, pretty much, when you're playing as Cody. Ooh, almost made it through that scrap without taking damage, but it's very hard to get through sometimes. But overall, Cody is actually one of the more better characters in the entire game. For speedruns, you definitely want to make full use of the infinite. You definitely want to mash more faster than what I'm doing right here. If you're doing turbo fire, that actually makes it a lot more easier. If you're doing the turbo runs for the speedruns.com category. One thing to keep in mind about the Extra Joy is that this covers a pretty good range overall. It gives him plenty of invincibility, since he's in the air for the most part. But of course, like Hagar's lariat and Guy's spin kick, that does take 10% of your health whenever you successfully make contact with enemies. So you have to be very careful when you're using the Extra Joy, because you don't want to be burning out your whole health in general. It's very good when you're surrounded by enemies, but it's pretty terrible when you're trying to use it to go for chain finishers, because you don't get a whole lot of leeway, unlike Final Fight 2 and 3. But anyway, I think that covers Cody for the most part. There's not much to say about his moves. He's pretty easy to pick up. Mastering his infinite will probably take some work. You do have to really get the rhythm down with when to turn the punch, turn your character just as you go for the second punch and the whatnot. But overall, once you master him, he's going to be a hoot and joy to utilize, especially when you get full use of the knives. Of course, even though knives do appear in Final Fight 2, they're not nearly as plentiful. And I guess the developers kind of realized the mistake of putting so many knives, especially when there's a character that can make full use of them, like Cody does. So they kind of made sure knives were almost non-existent by the time Final Fight 3 came around. And pretty much try to make sure none of the weapons got OP'd in general. But for the most part, if you get Cody a knife or knives or Master of the Infinite, he's going to be a huge joy to play on a speedrun for the most part. So anyway, that covers the Cody guide. Sorry I don't have a whole lot of much to say about the character. As long as you keep in mind what to pay attention to your defenses, as well as to properly use your extra joy and make full use of your knives and infinites, he's going to be a very good character to utilize in speedruns. Anyway, sometime a little bit later, I will have the guy's guide up for Final Fight eventually. I think I'll wait till next week to do that. But I will catch you all Monday. I do have my schedule set up on my Twitch scheduling, so be sure to check it out. We'll be doing streaming for the next 3 days, starting tomorrow with Bravely Default 2. And then we'll go from there. And I'll catch you all later. This is RotorStorm331 signing off. Have a great day. Take care, and I will see you all next time.